In the hit series Money Heist, the world watched, captivated, as a system was dismantled from the inside, quietly, legally, and with surgical precision. But in Pakistan, that fiction has just become a lived reality. Across the country, a radical shift in energy policy has sent shockwaves through the nation's infrastructure. What appeared on paper as a minor regulatory update has landed like a tectonic shift in the real world. Suddenly, millions of households, small businesses, and massive industrial complexes have found themselves trapped. Billions of rupees were invested in a green revolution under one set of rules. Now, those rules have been rewritten overnight. Supporters call it a necessary reform to save a collapsing grid. Critics are calling it a power heist on an unprecedented scale. But to understand how a nation's solar dream became a regulatory nightmare, you have to look past the rooftop panels. You have to look at the crumbling, decades-old foundations of a system that was breaking long before the first kilowatt was ever generated. This is the story of Pakistan's solar crisis. Please take a moment to subscribe and like the video. It really helps the channel. Pakistan's energy crisis was never simply about electricity shortages. It was about how power was paid for. For decades, Pakistan relied on independent power producers to close the supply gap. Private investors were invited in under contracts designed to guarantee returns and attract capital quickly. Power plants were built, capacity expanded, blackouts initially eased. But these agreements carried a long-term cost. The most damaging feature was the take-or-pay clause. Pakistan committed to paying power producers for capacity whether electricity was actually used or not. Returns were indexed to the US dollar, shielding investors from currency risk, while transferring it directly to the state. As the rupee weakened year after year, these obligations ballooned. By 2024, capacity payments alone reached roughly 2.1 trillion rupees, over $7 billion, paid even while plants sat underutilized. This became one of the largest contributors to Pakistan's circular debt and a constant drain on foreign reserves. Electricity prices rose steadily to absorb these costs. By the early 2020s, tariffs had climbed more than 150% in just 3 years. Industries slowed production. Public resentment grew. Pakistan found itself paying for excess power it didn't need, at prices it couldn't afford, under contracts it couldn't easily escape. This was the system households were trapped in, until solar appeared. Pakistan did not plan a renewable energy transition. It escaped into one. As grid electricity became increasingly unaffordable and unreliable, global solar panel prices collapsed. Between 2022 and 2024, Chinese solar panel prices fell by nearly 60%. At the same time, Pakistan kept solar imports tax-free, removing one of the last barriers to adoption. Solar was no longer a climate statement. It was a financial decision. In 2024 alone, Pakistan imported around 17 gigawatts of solar panels. By 2025, total imports crossed 35 gigawatts, more solar capacity than France has installed in its entire history. And almost none of this capacity came from giant solar farms. It came from rooftops. Entire city blocks quietly disconnected themselves from the grid. Villages with only a few hours of electricity a day installed small systems that transformed daily life. Farmers replaced diesel tube wells with solar pumps. Businesses rewired operations to escape tariff shocks. This wasn't policy-led, it was people-led. A bottom-up energy revolution moving faster than the system designed to regulate it. Net metering was the mechanism that made solar viable at scale. Under the old framework, electricity exported from rooftop systems was adjusted unit for unit against electricity consumed later. Excess power was credited at roughly 22 rupees to 27 rupees per unit, while grid electricity prices rose toward 45 rupees to 50 rupees per unit for many consumers. For middle-class households, this created rare certainty in a volatile economy. A solar system costing several million rupees could recover its cost in 3 to 4 years. Monthly bills dropped by 70 to 90%. Solar became one of the safest investments people believed they could make. By 2025, rooftop solar capacity reached around 6,000 megawatts. Daytime grid demand fell sharply. Fuel imports declined. But something else happened beneath the surface. The grid, already burdened by IPP contracts, began losing its most reliable customers. Here is where Pakistan's energy story turned toxic. As more people moved to solar, grid demand dropped, but IPP obligations didn't. The state still had to pay for idle coal and gas plants under take-or-pay clauses, regardless of whether electricity was needed. In financial year 2024, electricity sales fell by 3.2 billion units, costing distribution companies around 101 billion rupees. Those losses were absorbed into tariffs, increasing prices for consumers who couldn't afford solar and pushing more people to exit the system. The government began renegotiating IPP contracts. Between 2024 and 2025, several agreements were terminated early or shifted toward take-and-pay models. Officials claim potential savings of up to 1.5 trillion rupees from renegotiating 14 to 29 IPP deals. But renegotiation is slow. Courts, investors, and foreign currency obligations don't move at the speed of rooftop solar. And while those talks dragged on, the grid continued hemorrhaging revenue. So the system reacted the fastest way it knew how. Recently, NEPRA dismantled the old net metering framework and replaced it with net billing under the Net Metering Regulations 2026. What had once been a unit-for-unit exchange was transformed into a dual-price system. Surplus solar electricity is now purchased at the national average energy price, roughly 11 rupees per unit. Electricity taken from the grid is billed at full consumer tariffs, often 4 or 5 times higher. Export and import are settled separately. The grid no longer acts as a free battery. Net metering contracts are capped at 5 years, after which terms can change. Regulators retain the authority to revise purchase rates even within existing agreements. For new solar adopters, the economics that once drove the revolution are gone. For Pakistan's middle class, the impact is immediate and personal. Systems designed under net metering economics now take 8 to 12 years to recover costs, if they recover at all. Power sold to the grid at 11 rupees cannot offset electricity bought at 50 rupees. Monthly savings that once justified the investment disappear. Millions of rupees spent with confidence become sunk costs. Batteries offer partial relief, but large-scale battery adoption remains financially out of reach for most households. What solar once provided, predictability, has been replaced by uncertainty. This isn't just about electricity bills, it's about trust. People made rational decisions within a system that encouraged them to do so. That system changed. From the regulator's perspective, the argument is simple. The grid cannot survive if its revenue base collapses while IPP payments remain fixed. Net metering distorted tariffs. Solar exports were compensated far above the cost of utility-scale solar, now contracted below 10 rupees per unit. But solar didn't create Pakistan's energy crisis. It exposed it. The real damage was done long before, through contracts that guaranteed profits regardless of demand, indexed to a foreign currency in a volatile economy. Pakistan has begun fixing that problem. But instead of absorbing the transition carefully, the cost has been pushed back onto the very people who adapted fastest. Pakistan still has the panels. It still has the sun. It still has the demand. What remains uncertain is confidence. If the country manages to modernize its grid, unwind the IPP trap, and integrate distributed energy thoughtfully, this moment could still mark a turning point. If not, it will be remembered as the moment a people-led energy revolution slowed down to protect a broken system. Because once ordinary citizens learn how to generate their own power, the real struggle is never just about electricity. It's about who controls it. This is Unthinkable Build, bringing you the stories behind the world's biggest projects. Subscribe for more.